Have you ever wondered what would happen if a hospital secretly started experimenting on people in the name of treatment? The story we're talking about today is nothing less than a horror movie. Behind the shiny facade of a luxurious five-star health center hides madness, electric shocks, and dangerous human experiments. Let's not waste time. Let's begin the story. Jack's mother dies suddenly, and the shock drives his younger sister Lily into a mental breakdown. A few days later, because of her strange behavior, she's forcibly admitted to a mental hospital. Jack keeps trying to bring his sister back home, but every time, the hospital staff refuses with one excuse or another. They don't even let him meet her. Finally, Jack makes his own plan to get inside. He pretends to be insane on the street, shouting, breaking things, causing chaos. A crowd gathers and the police are called. They inject him and knock him out, and when he wakes up, he finds himself inside the same hospital where his sister was kept. The doctor examines him and declares him a severe mental patient, sending him to a special ward where all the dangerous patients are kept. A guard warns him to stay away from the old man across the room. He looks weak, the guard says, but everyone here is terrified of him. Suddenly, the old man starts screaming in pain. The guard rushes to open the door, but Jack stops him and says, "He's just acting." And he's right. The old man instantly sits up straight. Now Jack's name spreads through the ward. All the patients start seeing him as an enemy, but Jack knows he can't stay here long. His only goal is to rescue his sister. The next day, when the doctor returns, Jack behaves normally, so they transfer him to the section for regular patients. But he fails to notice how respectfully that same old man bows in front of the doctor, almost like they're hiding some kind of secret. The new ward is a bit calmer. The patients are weird, but not violent. Suddenly, a male patient lunges at a nurse, grabs her by the throat, and starts muttering strange, mysterious things. Scared, Jack hits the alarm. Guards and doctors rush in immediately. The doctor just shoots a stern look, and the patient instantly falls silent. It was clear that these patients had a strange mix of fear and respect for him. Meanwhile, Nurse Nasi thanks Jack, and the moment she leaves, Jack starts examining the window and door locks carefully. He needs to escape the moment he gets a chance. Suddenly, he hears a rattling sound from the closet. When he opens it, he finds a patient hiding inside. The man says, "I don't want to hurt anyone. I'm just hiding. Everyone who goes from here to the research ward comes back as a monster." He explains that the patients the doctor sends for special treatment start to have silver shining eyes and become violent. Jack now suspects that this hospital isn't treating anyone. They're experimenting with some dangerous drug or serum. Meanwhile, in his lab, the doctor injects a new patient with a medicine, and the patient's eyes really do start glowing silver. This wasn't treatment. It was a horrifying experiment. But Jack still doesn't know the full truth. He's only focused on finding his sister, and when he finally sees her during the group class, his whole body trembles. Jack had made up his mind. No matter what happens, he's going to get his sister out of here. But when he tells his sister Lily that he's going to help her escape, she snaps back at him. She says this place isn't that simple. Once someone comes in, they don't leave alive. Her words crush Jack's heart, but he refuses to give up. He pulls out a metal wire he had hidden under his bed and tries to break the window lock, but his hand gets badly cut in the process. The next day, while he's sitting in the hospital's group session, the wound starts dripping blood, and the moment the blood hits the floor, something happens that shakes everyone. A patient sitting across from him sees the blood and suddenly goes insane, lunging at Jack while screaming. An old woman drops to her knees and starts licking the blood off the floor. A nurse runs to call security, but before she can, the crazed patient grabs her hand and bites her viciously. The entire room descends into chaos. The security staff eventually manage to get things under control, but Jack's heart is now trembling with fear. Is this really the effect of that same drug the other patients were talking about? Jack was now completely sure that something very dangerous was happening in this hospital. He went straight to the doctor's office and confessed everything. "I'm not crazy, doctor. I only did this to save my sister." He begged the doctor to let both of them go, but getting out wasn't that easy. The doctor smiled and said, "Anyone who admits they're crazy is at least honest. But the one who keeps saying, 'I'm fine,' That's the real sick person. Jack's explanations didn't work, and the guards dragged him back into that terrifying ward. This time, the patients inside had become even more violent. They were screaming, banging their heads against the walls. As if some dark force had taken over them, Jack was on the verge of breaking down. Finally, pretending to give up, he told the doctor, "Yes, I'm sick." In exchange for that lie, they moved him back to the normal ward. Now Jack understood what his sister meant. Nobody walks out of here sane. He asked his fellow patient, Dev, for help. Dev said, "Escaping is impossible, but I can show you the way." That night, the two of them quietly slipped out. Using Dev's cleverness, they avoided the guards and sneaked into the security room, stealing an access card. The path now led straight to Lily's room. When Jack saw his sister, she broke down in tears. "Every night they take some patients away," she cried. "They inject them with drugs, and their screams echo all night." Jack held her hand and said, "I will get you out, but not without a plan." He was just turning back when a patrolling guard appeared. While running, Jack accidentally slipped into a locked room, and that place was the doctor's secret lab. A large iron cage was placed in the corner of the room, and inside it was the same patient who had attacked Jack earlier that day. Despite being terrified, Jack noticed some vials in the lab cabinet. Inside them were strange liquid medicines. Just then, he heard footsteps outside. The doctor and his assistant walked in and started talking. The assistant said, "Sir, this drug is extremely dangerous. It can turn people from humans into animals. It can spread." But the doctor laughed and said, "If it spreads, even better. This is the new evolution of mankind." Hearing this, Jack was stunned. As soon as the doctor and assistant stepped out, he picked up one of the bottles. Now he finally had proof that something major and criminal was happening inside the hospital. The next day, he told Dave everything. This drug was the root of everyone's destruction. At that moment, a nearby patient laughed and said, "I caught a cat." And in an instant, he twisted the poor cat's neck. Jack's soul shuddered. He realized this wasn't just an illness. It was a virus that could wipe out humanity. Anyone who consumed that dangerous drug turned into a bloodthirsty monster within seconds. That same madness suddenly struck Jack, and he was thrown to the ground. The guards used a shock stick to get Dave under control. Jack wasn't physically hurt, but the fear and anger boiling inside him began to spill out. Everyone could see now that staying here was no longer an option. The patients had become animals. A nurse noticed Jack's condition worsening and was about to send him back to the critical ward when Dave acted crazy to distract the staff. He startled a guard and quietly snatched his key card. Because of this clever move, they could now roam freely between floors. When they reached Lily's room, they found it empty. Jack soon spotted her lying on a table, but it wasn't a normal hospital bed. It was a steel table used for experiments. Right then, the doctor and his assistant were about to inject another patient when the patient grabbed the assistant's hand. With a loud scream, the assistant's hand snapped. Panicking, the doctor rushed the assistant toward the emergency room, and in all the chaos, they completely forgot about Lily Jack, and Dave's actions didn't escape the doctor's eyes. The moment the doctor tried to call security, the power supply started acting weird, and the heavy isolation doors suddenly opened on their own. The patients who had been locked up came bursting out like maniacs. Screams, wild attacks, everything felt like the hospital had completely fallen apart. Both of them ran into the lab and found Lily safe, which gave them a little relief. But victory was still far away. When they came back out, they saw that sheer terror had taken over the entire facility. Patients even started falling from the roof. Jack realized this was all part of a bigger plan. There was only one thing left to do: quickly connect the nearby floor lights and the elevator system to create an escape route. After a tough struggle, Jack managed to restore the elevator's power and created a hiding spot inside it. On the way, an elderly patient chased them, but Jack stopped him by shooting him. They hadn't even gotten a moment's peace when, as soon as they reached the lower floor, they saw the outside area was completely destroyed too. The walls and floors were smeared with blood. As they tried to make their way out, a huge number of patients lunged at them. Despite all their efforts, the door got stuck, And then they were startled by a scream. It was Nurse Nasi, someone they never expected to survive. But she brought bad news. Whenever the building loses power, the security system completely locks it down. Getting out through the main door was now impossible. That left them with only two choices: either fight deeper inside the building or find some kind of backup plan. They headed to the kitchen, grabbed whatever weapons they could find, and ran upstairs. On the way, Jack also grabbed a pistol from the doctor's office. The assistant, lying on the bed, barely clinging to life, was regretfully asking why he ever helped with all of this. Tells everyone that there's a secret passage in the fourth-floor lab that leads out into the real world. Doesn't want to turn into a zombie self, so he begs them to end life quickly. The nurse gives an injection and fulfills a final wish. Then everyone rushes toward the fourth floor. But suddenly, a patient appears from the front. The nurse loses her balance, and the patient bites her in the neck. Jack fires his gun in anger, but it's already too late. The nurse dies. Jack swallows his grief and moves on, but infected patients are already standing on the staircase. With no choice left, everyone starts climbing up through the vent pipe. After crawling through a long, twisting route, they end up right back on the fourth floor. The whole place is soaked in blood, and it looks like all the infected patients are already dead. They hurry to the lab and find the secret passage the assistant mentioned, but just then, the doctor returns. Right in front of Jack's sister, he stabs Jack's teammate in the head with a steel needle. Enraged, Jack attacks him, but the doctor slams him down. In a quick counterattack, Jack snatches the needle and drives it straight into the doctor's body. Lily grabs a taser at the right moment. Together, the siblings knock him unconscious, but they don't want to kill him just yet. So they tie him near an iron cage where a crazed, starving patient is already locked inside. Meanwhile, the brother and sister escape through the secret passage. Outside on the road, they spot a police car. Jack told the police everything, but both officers decided to go inside and investigate without listening to him. The moment they opened the hospital door, that same doctor came out alive again, and behind him was an entire army. Terrifying mutant patients. The cops didn't even get a chance to scream before they were attacked. Meanwhile, Jack and his sister were hiding in the car, trembling, and right in front of their eyes, those patients started running toward the whole city. With this, the story ends here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Also, subscribe to this channel for more stories like this.